Dave Matthews Band has played thousands of shows, but few venues have been able to host the full band for 34 shows. And only one venue's 34th DMB show has had a portion of number 34 be featured as part of the set list. It's not SPAC or Deer Creek. It's not the Gorge or Madison Square Garden. And there have not been 34 shows at Red Rocks at the time of this recording in June of 2023. It wasn't in Seville or Camden. The only venue that this has happened at is the Meadows in Hartford, Connecticut. By the time you hear this video, heck, that venue may have changed the corporate sponsorship of the theater yet again. So that's why us locals call it the Meadows. That was its original name when it opened in 1994. And even on the 41st show at the Meadows, the band played number 41, which has happened at other venues like SPAC and a handful of others. But only one venue can have the privilege of saying that it had number 34 partially played at its 34th show and number 41 played at show 41. At my third show ever in Hartford, Connecticut, the band was behind the infamous curtain they would have up during that era of their touring. As they took the stage, Dave had his 12-string Taylor guitar in hand. At that time, the Rockbridge 12-stringers had not been created. And for 47 seconds, he played number 34, softly followed by silence, and then followed a loud and boisterous JTR. That weekend of June 7th through June 9th in 2013 would become the most significant weekend in my journey as a Dave Matthews Band fan. One could even argue I wouldn't be your boy Concert Viz 34 without it. On Friday, June 7th, 2013, my friend Pete picked me up from my house in the midst of a tropical storm. Local flooding was present in Hartford County, and as we arrived to the lot, surprisingly with no traffic at all, we saw something odd for a DMB Hartford show. Nobody, literally nobody, was outside tailgating. People were either huddled in their cars or making the brave trip to the gates, as gravel lots had puddles of rainwater every 5 feet. Rain fell hard, and then just before the show it briefly stopped, only to pick up and get even worse throughout the night. Of the projected 5,000 to 10,000 fans who bought lawn tickets for night one, only 5 or 10 actually stayed in the lawn for most of the show. Other friends either left early or huddled in pavilion idols because yes, the rain was that bad that ushers were allowing lawn goers to move in underneath the roof at the back of the upper bowl. But the show, that show was amazing. Warehouse, then Squirm, then Broken Things all followed that awesome JTR opener. And then Idea of You came. We then got a 3-minute full Kill the Preacher into Why I Am. And then it happened. I got my first Captain. I didn't even think I needed to hear this song live, but the band brought this to life. This was one of the songs that Tim Reynolds' electric guitar amplified better than it could have been done before he had joined the band full time in 2008. This was the jazziest song played all night, and to me, one of the best songs that the band brought back in rotation in the 2013 tour. After that was Belly Belly Nice, and then, I got my first ever Big Eye Fish in the Bartender. Bartender was only played 3 times that tour, and I was blessed enough not only to see one of those, but to get a fish tender. After that, the song that Jane likes was played, and then Lying in Our Flippin' Graves. Whew. That was awesome. That was an experience for, again, me being at my third show and finally being able to experience that awesome song. And then a cover song only previously covered by some of Stefan's side projects was played full band for the first time ever. The band covered Tom Petty's Running Down the Dream, and it was awesome. Rooftop was played, and then Stanley Jordan came on stage, and the band played Dreaming Tree. This was the only Dreaming Tree of the entire 2013 summer tour. And Stanley stayed on to play Rhyme and Reason after that with the band. Then we got Every Day, and that was followed by Ants. The band would walk off stage and I would lift up my jaw from the ground. And as the band came back on stage, they played Drunken Soldier for 9 minutes and 51 seconds and then ended the show with Watchtower. Now, over the years, I would loathe Watchtower closers in the encore. But this show was so amazing, and this was my first ever experience like this. So Watchtower was okay ending that show because it was still amazing. This was only my third ever DMB show, and it was overwhelming to have a set like this in the post-Caravan era of the band and really truly understand what had just happened. A few hours later, at 3:30 a.m., I arrived at work exhausted, but I had to do my FedEx job at the time. I had a big grin on my face, and Dreaming Tree with Stanley Jordan was playing back in my head. I was exhausted, but I was happy, but mainly exhausted. After work, I went to my friend Joe's house around 1 p.m. and we loaded up the van to tailgate. For night 2, the sun was out all day and the skies were clear all night long. No rain, no wind, and the show was packed. Back in those days, just a year removed from college, it was impossible for me not to run into one of my former college friends or one of my old high school friends. And that tailgate, I even partied with some of my old residents that I had to write up back in the day. Instead of having seats like I did for night 1, I was on the lawn for night 2. And boy, was the lawn crowded for night 2. Unlike night 1, there were more distractions being in the lawn than being on the front of the venue for night 1. But I did my best to focus on the music. They started the show with Seek Up, which was my first ever experience hearing this song live. But it brought me back to my first legal purchase of anything DMB, which was my purchase of the Red Rocks 95 release, which also started with an epic Seek Up opener. And just like that Red Rocks release, there was a Proudest Monkey in the satellite for this night 2 show. After that, Don't Drink the Water was played. And then after Don't Drink, 7 was played. And this show wasn't as good as the opening of night 1. But then after 7, Stanley Jordan came back on stage and the intro to Spoon began. I thought it was too good to be true. I had heard the song before from recordings, and I knew from my early days of checking the almanac that this was a rare song. It was not played that often. I was so excited and in awe that it was actually being played at this show. I started my D&B live show journey in 2012. And then the night before, Hartford Night 1 2013, I get a Dreaming Tree. And now Hartford Night 2 2013, my 4th show ever, I get a Spoon. I knew I was blessed to have this experience. It was everything I had imagined Spoon would be live. And then they played Shake Me Like a Monkey. And hey, at least it wasn't played as the encore closer. Could be worse. After that, the riff was played. This to me was an underrated performance. There were a lot of drunk long goers that didn't really care about it, but I loved it. I saw the potential of that song sticking around, which unfortunately it didn't after that year. And then Gray Street followed that riff. After Gray Street, one of the few things I dreaded about this tour, 14-minute Mercy was played. These were extended Mercies that had nothing much going on. Now, very, very talented guitarist Mark Whitfield guested on it, but there was no room for him to really showcase his talents. But, you know, this was still an incredible show. And I'm glad those long Mercy performances are over. The Buddy Europe version in Germany is much better. But just before I could even think to find something else weak about this show, So Right was played. And then Jimmy Thing was played after that. And then Gaucho. But then we were right back to the deep cut magic. The Best of What's Around was played and was a tour debut. Before I could even reflect on how awesome this song was to experience live, the band then played Recently, which is another deep cut that really is underplayed in this post-Roy era. And after that, Funny the Way It Is, which is really overplayed in the post-Roy and the Big Whiskey era. And then P&P went into Rapunzel. And as I was trying to focus in on this show, before Rapunzel had ended, my friend had texted me saying that he left the venue and was in the lots helping one of the people that came with us that was just heavily intoxicated. And he told me, hey, you got to try to come as soon as possible. And I said, hey, this is a once-in-a-lifetime weekend. This show is epic. I'm going to do everything possible to meet you at that car as you leave. And thank God I did not leave. Because that E1 spot, the band played a Blue Water partial. This was one of 4 Blue Water partials in the entire tour. They really should have finished it. It's not that hard of a song to play. But hey, I'll take the partial. And then they ended the show with an epic two-step. As the band began to wrap up two-step, I ran to the exit. And like a Hollywood movie, I ran to the street to catch up with my friend who was driving the van. As he stopped and pulled over really quick, I hopped in and he sped away. We had made it out of the lots. When I look back at this weekend of deep cuts and regular hits and some of the newer music really entertained me in a way to make me stay dedicated to seeing this band every chance I got. To have the excellence of Fish Tender and Lie in Our Graves be separated by a nice and sweet song that Jane likes. To have a Belly Belly Nice in between the deep cut of Captain and that Fish Tender. They really did a great job of orchestrating these set lists, bringing thrills every single night, making you want to go to the next show even though you couldn't afford it. They also had a spread that was interesting. Night 1 of this run, they had 4 Away from the World songs, the most played album of that show. But it didn't feel like that. To get JTR and Dreaming Tree and Captain and Rhyme and Reason all in one show. And really to have a song like Drunken Soldier be played and highlighted in that E1 spot, it felt unique. Going down to night 2, they obviously had some more songs that I didn't like compared to night 1, but they still found a way to entertain me as a fan seeking to experience all the great things the OGs experienced back in the day. So you had your Sevens and you had your Shake Me Like a Monkeys, but you still had your Spoons and your Blue Water partials. There was something for everything and for everybody that Saturday night. And we literally got the best of what was around from this band. This June 2013 run was epic. It was special. You can look at other shows released from this month and see that this band was dialed in. And while I still appreciate the shows now, and I even defend the band from people who complain about what's going on, I'm not gonna lie. I would do anything to get set lists like this back. There was a thrill and there was a joy and there was even an ability for new fans like me to understand why fans chased all of these deep cuts. And I do hope that some of these songs come back for 2023 and really after this album is promoted in 2024. Because I believe all fans should be able to experience what I experienced walking in the Hartford both of those nights, really in awe of what they crafted together. Let me know what you guys think. Did you go to these shows? Did you go to any June shows in 2013? Or maybe you went to another epic run post-Caravan that felt just like this? Let me know in the comments. It's your boy ConsViz34. Peace.